Hello, everyone, and welcome to the news for May 18th or the week thereof. And today we're going to be starting with Call of Duty Warzone 2. I am joined with Godfoot. Godfoot, say hello.
Hey, everybody.
Hell yeah, we're here. I want to apologize if I sound a little sluggish. I've been sick the last few days, like super bad. And so I may be a little slower than normal. So let's just jump right into the news. And again, we're starting off with Call of Duty Warzone 2. The details have been leaked, and it is more like Call of Duty Blackout than the original Warzone, that is. So what do you think about Call of Duty right now, Godfoot? You know, as an avid Call of Duty player, and not myself, I haven't bought the last two games, just full disclosure. As an avid Call of Duty player, Godfoot, how do you feel about Warzone 2's details?
I agree that making loadouts harder to get to will be a little bit better for people who just, aren't very good at the game or they don't have coordinated teams, that kind of stuff. I agree with that. I guess we still have yet to see where Warzone 2 goes. I hope they change the engine. I mean, I hope they don't take the same steps of mixing a bunch of games into one because just the sheer mess that Warzone is right now is just it's appalling and it just sucks to play. I hope they just take all the feedback the community has been giving them and they just start afresh.
And yeah, just to clarify, Godfoot is talking about how their biggest focus is they're going to be trying to make loadouts less accessible for everybody. That could work to punish the sweat, or it could make the sweat even more powerful. Because if everyone they're fighting doesn't have loadouts, I mean, there's no secret to Call of Duty, right? Like if you get your meta guns and everybody else doesn't have meta guns, you're gonna win. Like it's just that straight up. If you're a team that has a loadout and you're fighting like three teams that don't have loadouts, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna win because your guns are lasers and theirs are not. So we'll have to see how it works. And I agree with Godful fully. I think that Warzone 2 is going to have to be enough of a different game than Warzone 1, or rather the Battle Royale mode, because I haven't played since Cold War, and I don't plan on playing until Warzone 2. I'm over the gun meta. I'm over having to buy games to grind out guns for hundreds of hours to be able to be competitive in these things. I did that with Modern Warfare, and I don't want to do it again in any other game. I'm over it. I'm over the Call of Duty loop. It seems like every time it comes out, they intentionally destroy everything from the previous game in Warzone and make the new stuff so crazy with power creep that if you're not using it, you don't get to have fun, and that ain't for me. So we'll just have to wait and see. All right, next topic is going to be Fall Guys, going free to play and coming to pretty much every platform. Godfoot, you remember we played Fall Guys? Remember that was the thing? That was a big game. Yeah. Everyone liked that game.
That was really fun.
Yeah,
fun for like a couple of days we played it, and just came a little bit repetitive. But it's still it's not. Normally, I'm against games going free to play.
Oh, for sure.
Usually, when they do, people start hacking and then just make new accounts and keep going. But I don't really see how you're gonna hack Fall Guys. I don't really see the point behind it. So people still will, and like
it's just a fun game, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is probably a fine game to go free to play with. It'll bring more people to the game, bring them more recognition, more accessibility, and it's fun.
Yep, really not much to talk about that as far as Fall Guys going free to play. Really fun game still if you haven't hopped into it. Sure, it hasn't been as popular on Twitch or anything, but it is an incredibly fun game to play with friends, especially if you're doing like couch controller handoffs or even playing with multiple people. Really awesome game to do when you're drunk too, or anything
Absolutely.
like that. Absolutely amazing game to do with friends. And it's just more accessibility, right? Like can't really complain about it coming on the Nintendo Switch, which I think might be the best location for it. But hey, we'll have to see. I have to see how people respond to it. I think it's going to be good on Xbox and Switch. So next up, we got a sequel to Fallen Order. It's called Jedi Survivor. Now, I don't know how you feel about Jedi Fallen Order. Personally, I'm on the camp that it was a good game, but not a fantastic game. I think it was really held back by Disney censorship. There was a lot less decapitation than in some of the previews, body parts not coming off. Like it was a little bit darker. There were allegedly evil options that were removed from the game. Disney really changed what the game was supposed to be versus what it ended up as. And so me knowing that and being a Jedi Academy fan, I was a little lukewarm on the reception of the game. I know a lot of people loved it, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing really wrong with it unless you look at it from my angle. But yeah, new sequel coming out, calling Jedi Survivor, or being called Jedi Survivor. Godfoot, what did you think about Fallen Order?
I liked Fallen Order. It was a nice, good single player experience. Yes, you are right. Disney really cut it down a lot to what it potentially could have been,
Hmm.
but it was still a good game. I wouldn't say, like you said, fantastic, but it was good. And hopefully they take some more creative freedom and a little bit more liberty with the next one, and just improve upon that base game.
Yep, and it is going to be allegedly continuing the story of Cal. We'll have to see where they go with that. Maybe they'll let, since they were using the first game as a setup, maybe the second game will actually let them, do evil choices and maybe have evil Cal. I think part of the most fun of the old Jedi games was that you could go either way. You could be evil, you could be good. And obviously the evil endings were non-canon with like Kyle Katarn and everything like that, but Star Killer as well, another whole fun series where you could go super evil and then become like a Sith war machine, and all. It's just fun, man. And I want Disney to realize that these games are about fun. You don't have to make every little fucking thing canon. You don't have to go over it with a fine-tooth comb and make sure it fits your agenda. Just make fun games, because at the end of the day, like, that's what matters in a video game. It doesn't matter if you have a non-canon ending where Star Killer throws Palpatine out the window of the Death Star. That doesn't matter. Okay. Everyone knows it's not canon. It's just fun to do, Another Silent Hill game is allegedly in the works. Godfoot, I love Silent Hill.
So
Uh,
do I.
I don't know if anyone here watching the news is a huge fan of Silent Hill, but I'm excited to see it. Really awesome to see a Silent Hill 2 remake. Any sort of Silent Hill game or Silent Hill remake, I'm super in. I can't complain about it. So allegedly it's going to be done. There's a bunch of image leaks which we'll put the links to down in the description below. But there's going to be a Silent Hill 2 remake and a full-on sequel possibly in the works. So I'm happy. Lots of people talking about it in interviews. What is there not to like? Silent Hill was an awesome franchise. I hope they don't destroy what the other games were with the sequel. I hope they stick to their roots. And honestly, I can't wait to see it with like RTX and everything. I think they could do so much with the way they do lighting if they do it right.
Yeah, and hopefully this is actually a proper remake and not a remaster called a remake. Because, the Silent Hill 2 is getting a little bit old.
Yep.
And I just love to see that refreshed and brought up to the modern age.
Was it Silent
More
Hill
of
2 with the
something good
dog
instead of.
ending?
Yes,
Silent Hill 2 had the dog ending. That's got to be canon. That's got to be in the sequel.
it's going to happen again.
Greedfall is getting a sequel. Godfoot. I don't know if you liked Greedfall. Personally, I tried my best to like it, but I just couldn't get around the jank, and I guess like it was, for me. It was like a couple stairs short of making it to the top of the mountain. You know what I mean? But they are doing a sequel for Greedfall. It's going to be called Greedfall 2: The Dying World. There's an announcement trailer for it. We won't watch it on the news. I will, of course, put it in the description down below. But yeah, what do you think about Greedfall, Guffet?
I'll probably put the trailer over the news as we're
Oh
talking.
yeah, that's
But
fair. Forget that happens. Yeah.
but so I actually I really liked Greedfall. It was a pretty janky RPG, and it kind of felt samey to other ones. But I could wear a turban, and that's nice.
You can wear a turban in Greedfall. I don't
Yeah.
remember ever personally wearing a turban, but I'll take your word on it. And honestly, it'll be interesting to see where they go, especially with a bigger budget than the first game. I
Mhm.
think the first game got a lot of sales and a lot more, I guess, money than they thought it was going to. I know ACG really, really, really likes Greedfall. And so he'll be super pumped about this. If he's put a video up by the time we put this up, we'll drop it in the description because ACG is an awesome reviewer. Go check him out. Yeah, more Greedfall, more RPGs, more games to play. That's good for me, as long as they don't all come out in February. Now we've got the Switch 2 Electric Boogaloo. Thank God. Honestly, that's all I'm going to say is thank God. Even though it's a rumor and it's a leak, it looks like it's confirmed at this point that there's going to be a Switch 2. I have been very vocal about our previous articles about how I don't think the Switch is capable of supporting games like Breath of the Wild 2 to their fullest possibility. I talk about how the Switch's hardware is from like smartphones from 2012. It's just a mess. It's a great console, don't get me wrong, for what it is, but my god, like they could have put better hardware in the new one that was just released, the Switch Pro or whatever it is. But god, is the Switch just, it's not good, man. There's very limited possibilities on the Nintendo Switch. Godfoot, how do you feel about the Switch 2 coming out?
Yeah, I also strongly believe and know that the Switch needs an update quick. I mean, we've seen it with performance on many games, like you said, Breath of the Wild, and many of the games have been ported to the Switch where the performance is just it's just really not there, especially when you connect it to a TV, and it's just sadness. But games that are made for it run pretty well. But nothing wrong with more powerful, better hardware, and that will justify potentially a higher price tag. So we'll see where that goes. I love the flexibility of the Switch, though. I mean, especially it is like a party console. They hit that niche so well, and I just really want them to continue that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very good with the versatility. The thing is, it has to compete with the Steam Deck now. And all of the Steam Deck stuff is super positive. The fact that you could play 90% of the games in your library on Steam on the Steam Deck with the downscaled resolution, it still looks great. I'm personally really excited to get mine. I actually just finished my order for mine. It should be getting here. But yeah, it looks like there is a new Nintendo console in 2024, allegedly. So we'll have to see if it is good. And that was during a recent Q&A in wake of its posting, like the financial results. So it does seem that a next gen device is coming, and it's backwards compatible with Switch existing library of games, which just means Switch 2 Electric Boogaloo. But yeah, we'll have to see. I'm hopeful. Maybe they'll put the same sort of hardware that the Steam Deck has into the Switch. That would be like the biggest brain play they could do, because then they would outsell the Steam Deck. They'd have like a really, really powerful chipset in their thing, and they could keep up the mobile market. I'm curious if they're going to take the Switch and keep it mobile, or if they're going to go back to like the standard sit console thing. Who knows?
I really like the flexibility of it. You could have it handheld or an actual sit down console. I think either way, that having that switchable option is switch is pretty good.
Switchable. I get you, and I agree. Yeah, it needs to stay that way. Anyway, Godfoot, continuing on, we got the RTX 4090s. Now, we just got our 3090s. So like 85% of America still can't get a 3000 series card because they're sold out and bought by scalpers. But now you can get super hyped to not be able to get a 4090 for 6 years because of scalpers, knowing that it's also double the performance of a 3090, baby. Yeah, so the story is the specs of the 4090 emerged, and it's essentially double the performance of a 3090, which is a pretty big leap as far as graphics cards go. Usually you get about a 50 to 70% increase on the top end cards. Straight up doubling the power of a top end card is pretty insane. Considering the size of the 3090s, Godfoot and I both have one. Eventually they're going to be the size of the computer themselves. They're just going to be like things that you slot in with like Legos.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think about the 39 or the 4090, Godfoot? You think it's going to be worth updating?
Honestly, here's the thing with that. The only games that have been able to really push the 3090, as far as I can tell from personal experience, are games that aren't optimized well. And the 4090, I know for a fact, because the 3090 is already really expensive, and the 4090, if it's double the performance, it's going to be even more expensive. And scalpers are just going to ruin the prices even further. And I think they're releasing a 3090 Ti, and I looked at Ti and I was like, this isn't worth it. But double sounds pretty enticing. More so as like
Yeah.
I'll buy it to have it and like use it kind of a thing, more so than I need it, right? Which is a
Yep.
lot of enthusiasts do. So that's my perspective on it.
So the big thing to keep in mind is that the 3090 Ti is like 10% stronger on paper versus the 3090. It's not really worth going for it. But if the 4090 is straight up double the performance and pretty solid, then heck yeah. These are alleged leaks, by the way. I believe they're leakers on Twitter that have been confirmed or something like that. But yeah, so we'll have to see. And I really hope that Nvidia as a whole does something to combat scalpers, because again, I know at least 20 people personally who have been in line from websites like EVGA to get cards for like over a year now. and they still can't get a 3080. So you guys want a life hack though? Get like the cheapest pre-built you can find for like $500 on a PC website. So like literally strip it down to nothing and then throw a 3090 on there or a 3080 or something. You will actually get it. You also have like, you know, a little do whatever you want office computer if you can afford the money for it. But that's the way to skip the line, is to essentially just buy a smaller PC or an extra PC with the lowest specs you can, and then just slam a 3080 or a 3090 in there. Most of the time, you will actually save money and still end up with a second PC than what you would pay if you pay a scalper, which I don't condone.
Same.
Now, we missed this by a couple days last week, but this involves Xbox's online DRM, with a bunch of people being unable to play games for days and days on end. Now, we talked about PlayStation 5 with, was it Gran Turismo? Gran Turismo having the same sort of always online DRM where you couldn't play the game when the DRM stuff was down. And it looks like Xbox has been suffering the same thing. Now, obviously, that's stupid. And I think that we can all universally agree that always online DRM is absolute crap, because if there's outages or the service goes down, you'll never be allowed to play your video games again. But I wanted to know Godfoot's opinion specifically on the whole Xbox DRM thing with a bunch of games that people bought not being able to play for days and days on end.
All right, so I understand the need for DRM to a degree, but if it's an offline game, a single player game, you should not require DRM to play it.
100%.
They need to really tone it down, you know? The whole point of, especially with consoles, like, you're supposed to be able to buy the disc, if you buy a disc still, and then if you want to sell it to your friend or give it to your friend, you can, and that's the whole point.
Yep.
Because it makes it, a viable pro to getting a console over a PC or something. But I mean, to have DRM literally not let you even access single player features is just outrageous and dumb, and it needs to change.
I agree. The thing you need to remember though was that a few top corporate people from Xbox have said that they want to lean into basically giving people licenses and not letting them own games. Now, Game Pass is a great example of this, and don't get me wrong, Game Pass is a great deal, but everything you play on there, you do not own. A lot of the stuff you buy digitally, you do not own. A great example of this is if you have a Steam account, and I know this is unrelated to Microsoft, but it's the same sort of thing. If you buy online digital purchases on Xbox and download them, if you have a Steam account and your account gets banned or Steam goes away, doesn't matter how much money you have on there, $30, $40, $50,000 in games, it's gone. It's gone forever. And Xbox has been leaning towards the same thing with cloud gaming and Xbox, Game Pass and all this other stuff. So this is just something we have to live with. And if you don't like it, you can buy physical copies. But since most people buy digital these days, just keep in mind that if you need to play a game, it's going to have to go through online stuff 9 times out of 10, unless you have a disc. And this is the future. So I hope that they fix these issues. I think one of the big salt on the wounds is that they said that they had resolved the issue, and then only to state several hours later that it was wrong. And then now Microsoft has said, hey, we will fix it. It'll be fine. And now at this point, it may be fixed already, which it does seem like it is, because this article was posted on the 9th, and it's now the 18th. I'd hope to God that this stuff got fixed, but hey, it could still be happening. But either way, even if it is resolved completely, not good. I understand why people are pissed, and I hope that they shy away from this in the future and maybe just like only do one-time verification. Like, it'd be cool if you just had to connect the first time and be like, bing, okay, your key's been accepted, it's approved, like old CD keys. And then it's like, okay, you can play your game offline. But we'll have to see. I don't think they'll go back to that. Next up, Starfield and Redfall, specifically more so Starfield, has been delayed till 2023. I think we all saw this coming. Starfield has basically no gameplay footage or anything about it. They've been very quiet about it. They haven't been pushing it, which told me that it wasn't even close to presentable. typically with games like this, when you get closer to launch and they have more and more done, when they get closer to going gold, you see more gameplay trailers, more teasers, more quote unquote leaks, which are just things to generate hype for the game. And there was none of that with Starfield. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they're struggling super, super, super hard with the engine that they've chosen, or, you know, post COVID stuff and backup. But Godfoot, what do you think about the delay? What do you have to say about it?
You know, if they're delaying the game to make it better and actually make it stable, that's totally fine with me, and I appreciate that they're willing to. This is their reason to release a good product, right? I'm tired, and we don't have to go into this because we all know the games in mind that this happens to, but it's just really frustrating to have them build up all this hype for a game and then say it's gonna come here, realize they vastly overestimated their speed at making the game, and then say, "Oh no, we have to delay it again." I mean, delay it if you have to, but don't set absolute release
You
dates
don't want
unless
them
you
to
are
say it
sure.
just works, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's look, man. I do not hate Bethesda, okay, and I just want to be clear about this. I'm hopeful for Starfield, but their
Hmm.
previous track record, and I'm not talking companies that they work with, like id Software, you know, et cetera, et cetera. You know, Arcane for like Dishonored and Prey, like those are all subsidiaries. It's not Bethesda proper. Their
Hmm.
last few games on their track record, like 76 and arguably Fallout 4, you know, so on and so forth, they haven't really released a banger that worked properly ever, like in the last 15 years. Let's just be completely honest. People like to point at Skyrim and say it was innovative and awesome, but anyone that was actually old enough to remember this, like when, you know, not a young child with a amazing imagination, you were an adult when you played Skyrim base, it was a horrible, buggy mess. It hardly functioned. Parts of the game were held together by duct tape. There were so many continuity bugs, so many glitches, so many issues. It was just a pile of fire that looked pretty good. It was really cool looking fire, but it was still on fire. And I want Bethesda to do better, man. I want Starfield to be great. I want them to move on from their old versions of Creative Engine. I want them to be the company that everyone thinks they are, that they haven't been for a very long time. And I mean, you can't even give them credit for the Elder Scrolls Online. That's ZeniMax. That's not Bethesda. That's ZeniMax. So it's
Hmm.
like I want Bethesda to prove us wrong, right? I want them to take their reputation they destroyed with Fallout 76, and I want them to make Starfield like fantastic. I want them to prove us we're all wrong, all of our deep down thoughts that we all have. I know a lot of you are probably super hyped for Starfield, but still are very critical and worried about it. And I think that's reasonable, but I want everyone to be proven wrong. And so this delay is good. Honestly, Bethesda, delayed as many times as you need. You can't, you have like one more release, man. If you release another game like Fallout 76 in the state that 76 was in, if Starfield comes out in that state, you're dead. Your company's done so. People aren't ever going to trust you. People aren't ever going to give you that benefit anymore. You have basically two major fuck ups as a company. And if you burn both of them, you're done. And finally, on the news, we want to talk about the whole Bungie supporting pro-choice thing. I will get straight out and say, like, I'm 100% pro-choice. I won't speak for Godfoot. Godfoot, what's your stance on it?
I'm also 100% pro-choice.
I think that's the sentiment of like 70% plus of our country in America as far as polls go. And it's interesting to see Bungie as a company. A lot of video game companies haven't come out and said that they support this. But Bungie had done a big statement, which I'm sure Godfoot will put up here. We'll get him the link for the statement and it'll be, you know, basically visible right now. They said it on Twitter. They made a bunch of social media statements essentially saying, hey, we support the rights of every human being to have their own decisions with their own body, do whatever they want. It doesn't hurt anyone, which of course is the sentiment of most gamers these days. And the worry was that Sony specifically said that they had no comment on the situation and just basically chose the I'm going neutral. But by going neutral, you're basically you know what's being said, right? Because it's if something so most people are so against is put out there and then you choose to just not say anything, you you're pretty much kind of confirming something. And so Bungie straight up was like, nah, I don't care if Sony says, because Sony recently bought Bungie, and Bungie was like, I don't care if Sony says, hey, we're not taking a stance on this. Bungie was like, we're still going to do it, and they're never going to tell us to shut up. Like, that's just the end of it. And I got to honestly say, good on them. Godfoot.
Absolutely the same.
There's not much to say
I mean,
about
really
that, right?
there's not much to say about this. I mean, in summary, we're pro-choice. We appreciate
Yep.
Bungie for voicing their stance on it, and yeah.
And keep in mind, whether or not you agree with our opinions, it's good to see people voicing theirs, right? You gotta keep in mind a lot of the stuff that happens and a lot of things that have been going back and forth recently is because people are quiet. And it's just nice in general, regardless of what side of the fence people are on, to see people speaking up. Because
constructive debate.
Yep,
is
constructive
very
debate.
important.
Yep. So it's good to see companies acting like people rather than just companies. And I'm all for companies being vocal. I'm all for employees being vocal. You keep in mind that sort of mentality is why the Activision Blizzard thing happened. People were being vocal, people were speaking up, people were standing against things that were wrong in their opinion, people were fighting against stuff that they believed to be wrong. They talked. And it's good to see employees and community managers and anybody from companies to just being up and being like, hey, this is wrong, I believe in this. Because it at least, even if you don't agree with it, obviously we do in this situation, but say we didn't, it's still nice to see actual people voicing their opinions. So I'm in full support of what Bungie's saying. I think it's good, and good on them for saying that their parent company won't tell them what to do.
Thank you guys for watching or listening, or doing whatever it is you're doing. And we look forward to reading through the comments as usual, and we love all the input and all the engagement you guys are giving us. So
yeah,
thank you very
definitely
much for that.
definitely be sure to give your opinion on these situations, because I know a lot of these topics are pretty hot button for a lot of people. Keep it civil. Like, I do not care if you have different opinions than ours. I do not care if you have different opinions than other people. You're allowed to voice that. You're allowed to communicate. Just keep it civil, man. Keep it constructive, keep it civil and reasonable. Feel free to talk down in the comments. Keep in mind, we will be striking down people that are blatantly offensive. And yeah, like Godfoot said, thank you for watching. Thank you so much. If you liked the news, if you liked any of the articles, if you like the news, like the video, hit the like button. Seriously, it helps tremendously. And follow/subscribe, whatever you want to call it, if you haven't yet. We do these every week, once a week, and that's it for that.